Welcome back to the show, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Seahawks Now. Today we're talking about the Seahawks' final preseason game. Is Jalen Milroe the answer? He didn't look too good against the Packers. Plus, we talked about which guys on the Seahawks won the preseason and my final 53-man roster prediction for the Seahawks heading into the 2025 season. Let's get into all that and more right here today on Seahawks Now. And let's first start by talking about Jalen Milroe. Yeah, I'm not sure how I felt about this Jalen Milroe performance. Personally, it was not my favorite. I think he was okay, but I do think that he struggled. He ends up going 13 for 24 for 148 yards and one touchdown. Seattle obviously losing 20-7. Milroe played the whole game at quarterback. He didn't look very good running the ball. I have to say, I'm not super impressed with Jalen Milroe's running ability. I heard that, throughout the preseason, all the hype was, Milroe, he might not be the best passer, but wow, he can sure run the football. People compared him to Jaden Daniels, compared to him to Lamar Jackson, and I just didn't see it at all this preseason. He ends up with 7 carries for 31 yards in the third preseason game against the Packers. I don't know. I can't tell you that I was super impressed. Against the Chiefs, in that win, he had 5 carries for 18 yards. So again, not great. And then obviously in the first game, the tie against the Raiders, he ended up with 3 carries for 38 yards. That was his best. I don't know. I don't see it in Jalen Milroe as much as I wish I could. I don't know. I'm not a believer right now in Jalen Milroe, guys. I'm sorry. He just didn't play too well. But here's the good news. He was drafted as a project. We do still have Drew Lock around, and I think Drew Lock's going to be the backup. Is Jalen Milroe locked to make the roster? Yes, he is. Maybe that was a clickbaity headline that I have down there, but either way, I don't know. I'm struggling to see the star in Jalen Milroe. I think he's probably an NFL backup quarterback, and that's fine. At the end of the day, that's fine. You got him in the third round, and if he can stick around as a solid backup and win you some games and provide that depth on your team, then that's a good thing. But yeah, I'm just not sold on him right now in the preseason. So far, he didn't really impress, and the Seahawks obviously struggled. Again, you could say, well, he had a third-string offensive line, and that's true, but so did Drew Lock, and so did Sam Darnold against the Chiefs. And it's like, at some point, you can't make excuses for guys in the preseason because he was also playing against mostly the Packers' third-stringers. As far as the skill position guys went, they did okay. Jacardia Wright had a nice game, 5 carries for 65 yards. Damian Martinez, 7 carries for 24 yards. Cody White had another good game with 3 receptions for 69 yards and the only touchdown of the game. Defensively, some stars also. D'Anthony Bell, Jamie Sheriff, and J.R. Singleton all coming away with sacks. Alfonso Tuputala with half a sack, as well as Jared Ivey with half a sack. So we had a chance to watch a lot of the sort of third-string defense play, and they were fine. Again, they were fine. Michael Dixon, I thought he looked really good from the punting side of the ball. Meanwhile, the Packers, Sean Clifford, he got the start. Malik Willis throwing a touchdown. Taylor Elgersma also throwing a touchdown. So some quarterbacks that I honestly never heard of for the Green Bay Packers, and they were all over the place. Malik Willis actually had a couple of good rushes as well. I don't know. The Packers were fine. They outplayed us, but again, it was a preseason. It doesn't really matter. Seahawks finished the preseason with a record of 1-1. So, yeah, there you go. Seahawks 1-1 in the preseason, and now it's time for the regular season, which we are gearing up towards, headed towards the finale. I want to talk about my 53-man roster prediction, but first, who won the preseason for the Seahawks? I feel like every year there's a few players who are like the clear winners of the preseason. As far as this player proved that they are good. This player proved that they should be on the roster. They deserve it. There's always a few guys like that every year, every preseason there is. So this year, who won the preseason for the Seattle Seahawks? I think one of the big winners was probably George Holani. George Holani had a really nice game against the Raiders. He ended up with 61 yards on 7 attempts and a touchdown. And then against the Chiefs, he continued to play well. against the Chiefs. He ended up with 49 yards on 5 carries. So he averaged over 10 yards per carry in 2 preseason games. And honestly, I think he did probably just make the team. I think, he was a guy who was probably on the outside looking in going into the preseason. And I think that he did probably prove himself that, yeah, he deserves to be on this team going forward. Another guy I think who won the preseason was Gray Zabel. Kind of an easy way out here with Gray Zabel, but he was the highest graded rookie offensive lineman in the preseason, according to Pro Football Focus. Does that mean he's going to be the best rookie offensive lineman in the league? I don't know, but I sure hope so, and I think he has potential to be that. And then another winner, I think, of this preseason was Drew Lock. I actually thought Drew Lock played really well against the Chiefs. I think he proved that right now, yes, he is the backup quarterback on this team. Regardless of how Jalen Milroe is progressing, Drew Lock against the Kansas City Chiefs was 10 for 12, threw for 129 yards, and he threw 2 touchdown passes, both of them to Jake Bobo. So I think Drew Lock kind of won the preseason. With that being said, I want to talk about the 53-man roster projection, right? Who is going to be on this team and who is out? We're going off the ESPN projection roster, and I'm going to give you where I think there might be some disagreements, but here we go. First off, quarterbacks, I got Sam Darnold, Drew Lock, and Jalen Milroe. I agree. I agree with that. Running backs, they have us keeping 4. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, George Holani, and Robbie Out as a fullback. I feel like Damian Martinez could make this as well, but we'll get to that in a second. They do have us keeping 5 wide receivers, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp, Torrey Horton, Derek Young, and Jake Bobo. They are saying that they believe Marquez Valdes-Scantling is going to get cut. He doesn't play special teams. He's not any better than Derek Young. He is owed some money, but I don't know. They seem to think that MVS is not going to make this team. I'm not sure if I agree with that either, but again, we'll get to it. Tight ends, they have us keeping 4, AJ Barner, Elijah Arroyo, Eric Saubert, Brady Russell. Not sure if I agree with this either. Are we really going to keep 4 tight ends? I don't know. Again, Brady Russell, he is kind of a second fullback almost. Do we need to keep 2 fullbacks? I don't know. So they end up with us keeping, 7, 12, 16, and then 10 offensive linemen, including they're projecting that we are going to end up signing a 10th offensive lineman, a veteran who's not currently on the roster. That's a crazy thing to project. You don't even know, we haven't even signed him yet. They have us taking 26 offensive players. On the defensive line, I'm not going to read through the O-line. I mean, it's the people it's going to be. It's going to be Cross, Zabel, Sundell, Bradford, Lucas, Jones, Oluwatimi, Cabeldu, Michael Jarrell, and a veteran currently not on the roster. They do have Christian Haynes going to the IR is what they are projecting. So defense, they got 5 defensive linemen, Leonard Williams, Jaron Reed, Byron Murphy, Brandon Peely, and Mike Morris. They're also projecting Jonathan Hankins probably is injured to start the season. Your outside linebackers are Uchenna Nwosu, DeMarcus Lawrence, Derek Hall, Boye Mafe, and Tyreek Smith. Yeah, nothing shocking there. Those are the guys who deserve to make it. 4 inside linebackers, Ernest Jones, Tyrese Knight, Patrick O'Connell, and Drake Thomas. 5 cornerbacks is Devon Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, Josh Jobe, Shaquille Griffin, and Nehemiah Pritchett. And then your safeties are Julian Love, Kobe Bryant, Nick Emenwori, D'Anthony Bell, and Ty Okada. So yeah, nothing crazy there. They end up with 24 defense and 26 on offense. And then their 3 specialists, Jason Myers, Michael Dixon, and Chris Stoll. Yeah, so honestly, here's my take. Personally, I do think that Damian Martinez is going to be on the team. And personally, I also think that Marquez Valdes-Scantling is going to be on the team. I don't think we drafted Damian Martinez in the 7th round to cut him. I think he played well enough against the Chiefs that he has earned a chance to be out there. I think MVS was paid, and I don't think they're going to find a trade partner. And I think that Clint Kubiak likes him. He works in his offense. So here's who I think is out. Because if those 2 are in, that means somebody's have to be out. I think who's out is Derek Young. I don't think he makes it. I think Derek Young is a practice squad guy. I don't think he had a tremendously great preseason. If you look at what he did, I mean, he caught 1 pass against the Raiders for 31 yards. It was a good reception, but it was only 1 pass. Then against the Chiefs, Derek Young caught 3 passes for 52 yards. He did lead the team in receiving against the Chiefs. But then against the Packers, he ended up with, let's see here, against the Packers, he did not catch a single pass. So, yeah, I don't know about Derek Young. I just, personally, I don't feel like he is making the team. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the reason he didn't catch a pass against the Packers is because he's already made the team and he is just, waiting waiting to start the season off. I don't know. But yeah, he didn't really get many minutes against the Packers. So yeah, I don't know what that means. And I think it either means he's out or he's in. Personally, I think he's out. I haven't seen him do a whole lot in the Seahawks uniform. Last year, he was targeted 3 times and caught 2 passes. Is this a guy who, again, and also he was a 7th round pick, right? So is Derek Young really that special? Probably not. I think MVS, he did get paid. I think he slots in as the receiver, the 5th receiver instead of Derek Young. And then as far as the running backs go, I do think you end up keeping 5 running backs because I think Robbie Outs, who is obviously a fullback, would also count as a running back to you, keeping Charbonnet, Walker, Halani, and Damian Martinez, your 4 running backs, plus Robbie Outs, your fullback. I think the guy who's on the outs is Brady Russell or Eric Sauber, one of those 2, right? Eric Sauber is kind of a blocking specialist tight end, veteran guy. He's replacing Pharaoh Brown in that role. Brady Russell is more of a fullback who also plays special teams. So I think they're going to have to decide, do we want to keep 2 fullbacks or do we want to keep 1 fullback, and then Brady Russell can kind of be on the practice squad as the backup to Robbie Outs. Ultimately, my guess is that they don't keep Brady Russell. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to keep 4 tight ends when you already have a fullback and one of them is also a fullback. It's a lot of fullback kind of guys, and I think they do need the skill positions, especially with the injury history of their running back crew. I would keep Damian Martinez on the roster. I also think he's a guy who, if you put him on the practice squad, if you try to sneak Martinez on the practice squad, there might be a team that swoops in and picks him up, and I don't think they want that. With that all being said, guys, it's going to wrap things up for today. As always, leave a like, leave a comment down below. If you disagree with my predictions, who do you think is in and out? Let's hear it down below in the comment section. Sound off. Until next time, as always, go Seahawks.